Welcome to the Kustom Kulture Rodcast, brought to you by Old School Rods and Car Culture Looks magazines. I'm sitting here with Miss Sarah.
Howdy.
I'm Double Deuce, and I'm sitting here next to the man, the myth, the legend, the Hall of Famer, Mr. Murpho at Murpho's Rod and Custom Shops.
What's happening, Deuce? I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
That was a huge, long intro. I like lost my breath on that one. There we go. Hey, man, this is good, man. We got a good show tonight. You know who we got on?
I do.
Well, I know you do. You're supposed to, come
Who?
on, man.
Okay, who?
It's like we're listening to the Dead Milkman.
No,
over here. You gotta be
who,
Hey,
Deuce?
man, what's happening?
Tell us.
Man, what's happening?
What's
Who do you
happening
got?
with
Who you got?
We have Brian Mackey from Mackey's Hot Rods out of Huntington Beach, California.
What's up, guys?
How you doing?
What's happening,
man?
brother?
Hey.
Doing good. We're sitting here and it's hotter than hell in California, but that's nothing new for you guys. You're used to it.
How hot?
So we're in the high 90s, but our humidity is up there for us.
You get out of here with your high 90s.
You gotta have it.
Okay.
You
So-
get the breeze
preaching
coming
to
up
the
the
choir,
Pacific,
but-
though, right?
So high 90s right now is like midnight?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a nice fall day going on.
Yeah, I'm going to go dip in the ocean after this, and everything's be all right.
Okay, just rub it in.
Jumping in the
Rub
Pacific,
it
which
in.
is perfect. Good.
Brian, what do you think? There is humidity or there's not humidity there?
There isn't, except we in September we get these
tropical
Mexico storms, and it kind of brings in a little bit of humidity.
Oh, gosh.
El Nino.
El Nino.
El Nino. Yeah.
Nothing like you guys, though,
So you
man.
need to come here, brother. We'll walk outside the door and your shirt immediately goes slap.
Yeah.
I might lose 5 pounds, right?
Yeah.
Well, you
For
yeah,
real.
you will. You
Yeah.
will. I was gonna say you say you will.
Yeah, but
It's all water weight though. You sweat the shit out. You'll be drinking 2 gallons a day.
So where Brian hails, I believe it's probably about 270 or 280 days a year. That's around 74-ish with no humidity.
There's always that breeze
And-
coming out of the Pacific.
and-
It's beautiful down
And
there.
tell me if I'm wrong, Brian, but you typically have to have a hoodie or something for nighttime. 'Cause
What's
it's
that?
Yeah,
Hoodie.
That's what the kids wear.
What? What's a hoodie?
Yeah, California gets cold at night. That's
Cold.
definitely.
I've never heard of it. Never heard of it.
California or cold?
Cold.
Well, Murph, weren't you a transplant from California?
I hail from Southern California, Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spent most of my life there, and I lived kind of all over, in Southern California. When I moved to Texas, I came from the city of Orange. And
Okay.
Once upon a time, I lived for about a year on 6th and Olive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in Huntington, where
Yep.
Brian hails from. So, but that was
Right
a long
on.
time ago, dude. I've been here now for 13 years.
Nice.
I was kind of in the front of this wave of everybody with the mass exodus from California, which, I think that really sucks, that California's got to that point. I was always very California proud. I've always been very proud that I'm from there. And I always had this kind of thing in me where, California's the best. So it's hard to listen to how the strife has gotten, dude, with so many people being jaded and the politics and the cost and all that, right?
The cost is a big deal, man. When you hear a lot of people here around because we're just south of Austin here in Buda, and it's amazing the amount of people who've moved in from all over California, well, the West Coast and East Coast, but California in particular, where they come in and they go, man, it's so great down here. I can buy a house for $350,000, and I go, yeah, but before you moved here, you could buy that house for $220,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Because these guys are selling a house for $800,000 in LA and coming here and got this steal for $350,000. But you're driving the price up for people who are here.
Yeah.
But that's all. But I guess that's all part of it. You know what I mean?
So were y'all in the same area at the same time? Did y'all?
I don't know, Brian.
Have y'all crossed paths or
are
just
you native
parallel lives?
Californian?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in South Orange County, and would come up to the North County because that's where everyone was doing hot rods and customs. South Orange County was kind of this little, for lack of a better word, a kind of a bubble like sports cars and Ferraris and stuff. I just wasn't, it was ridiculous. And so I'd come up to Huntington to Orange. Orange is still a mecca.
Yeah.
And then even up through the valley. And so I think 14 years, I'm going on 14 years in Huntington that the shop's been open.
That's awesome.
What I'm gonna say this really like politically correctly. What decade were you born in?
What decade? I guess I'm Gen X.
Yeah.
So
I am as well.
Yeah, and
So
like still the pre-internet, that culture, the Southern California punk rock, skate, surf.
Okay.
So I can tell you, to answer your question, Sarah, yes, we have probably crossed paths many times. We're from the same era, the same generation, and we grew up in the same place. So I'm sure we've been at car shows together at some point and all that kind of thing. And when I lived in Orange, it was like a hotbed, like a sleepy little town that had lots of hot rods, lots of builders, lots of really well-known builders from Orange. I lived down the street from Jimmy Shine and across the way from Jimmy White, and Thomas Adby was there, and like just it's filled with these like car guys like all over, and that's who I was kind of running with. And I came here, Brian. It was like it was one of those life things, just like where it's this crossroads and you got to kind of zig or zag, and it was time to do something different. So I had this opportunity out in Texas from a business standpoint, and it was kind of a growing thing. Like Brian's still submerged in the epicenter of cool, like where all the car stuff really has come from and is. But it was good for me, dude, like to come to Texas with the growing car scene, and the Lone Star Roundup and some of the shops and everything out here has been, good for me. But I do tell you, bro, I miss being out there a lot with how much you have to do, how many shows you have to go to. Just like the scene, the culture.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's I don't think we realize it until it's gone, but we're pretty fortunate. And I think the weather is the big thing for year-round car shows. Right. I talked to some of my friends in Pennsylvania, man. They go burrow in their garage and build their cars in the winter, and they only get 3 or 4 good months to drive and get out, But yeah, man, I'll tell you, like I'm finally at the point in the last 5 years or so where we're starting to expand outside of Southern California to venture out to the Bonneville Salt Flats, to get to some of these other shows, Lone Star Roundup. We're planning to go to Trog on the west coast coming up.
We are too.
So,
haven't been before.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. We'll look for you.
Yeah, so we haven't been either, and I just bought this real historic 32 Ford sedan that a guy up in Bakersfield named Squeak Bell, he saved the car basically. It's an old drag car, and we're going to take it out to Trog, and it's their 10-year anniversary, so that'll be pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's rad.
That's really really rad.
Badass.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that should be good times.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you guys are going out there as well. It's like when Murphy came down here, it's the good thing is like the epicenter is in Orange, but all the other states are emulating. You know what I mean? The car culture is getting bigger and bigger all around the country. Where it used to be a West Coast thing, or an East Coast thing, it's now becoming a coast to coast thing. Where we're all in country as well, which is fantastic. It's fantastic for everybody. It's fantastic for the culture, for the cars, for the kids, for everybody.
Yeah.
For sure. Worldwide almost, right? We could say, like, I traveled to Japan in 2009 for the Yokohama show and was blown away with the culture. And that's, 12, 13 years ago. And it's incredible, man. Like, our ability to see what everybody's doing online now.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
just
what I was
pushes
gonna
us
say.
even more. So
yeah, and I have not been to Japan, but I follow a lot of cats over there builders, and it's wild, like how hardcore the scene is there.
Oh, it's perfection. Everything they do is to perfection, and even down the scene, to the music, I mean, even their lowrider scene is incredible. I mean, it's incredible. And so, yeah, it's inspiring.
Yeah, these cats are inspiring. I see somehow like there's stuff in my feed all the time, you know.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of months ago, we were talking about some guy that we said who was listening to the show. Remember, we were getting feedback.
Yeah.
The guy said, "Hey, we're over in Japan. We love what you guys are doing. We love you." Remember, we said that? We got to do a trip over there.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
I
know,
want to go,
Yeah.
you know,
fun.
but of course I want to go when it's like a chance to bring something that you built, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's kind of got to have the perfect storm scenario to do that.
Yeah, I can't imagine every year. Well, I think they're still doing this, but the Moon Eyes guys would send. They would pick car clubs and send their cars over, and these car clubs would get invited from all over the U.S. And then you land, and there's your hot rod sitting there in Yokohama, and you get to drive it around and take it to the show.
Who is that, bro?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it would be a blast. So one day it'll happen.
Well, tell us, dude, like how long have you been at the car build game?
So I'm right at that 20-year mark. I pretty much decided at high school auto shop that I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is it for me. And right out of high school, started working in hot rod shops and body shops. Not really knowing that there was like this. Like I talked about that culture that was happening in North Orange County. I didn't really exactly know that was going on, so I was around a lot of muscle cars, and which I still love. But once I figured out this whole like hot rod and custom car culture existed, I just dove right in. And 15 years ago, started the shop, and that just it's just kind of never ended. It's just we've been as busy as we are since day one, which we're so grateful for.
Yeah.
How'd you find out it existed? Just like living where you lived?
Yeah,
like what was the gateway?
It was so it was like the auto trader or the recycler like news flyer that used to arrive in the mail had, like little black and white ads, and so I would see these cars for sale, and right when I was coming up to start driving at 16, and so I'm like, man, I just don't want like a little pickup truck. I want something cool, like that kind of stands out, and so it was the muscle cars that kind of stood out to me, and then once I had I had a '68 El Camino that I thought was the cat's meow, man. I thought I was.
You were right.
So where is it now?
You were right.
Where is it, Brian?
But I thought that was like the absolute drop dead greaser mobile, and I was the coolest. But I would drive that up to the Orange and to Huntington Beach and Pomona and stuff. I'd see the real guys doing it, when they were in their Model A's and their shop Fords, and I'm like, man, okay, I'm gonna ditch this El Camino, and I'm gonna, and I think the next thing I bought was I bought a 1930 Model A cowl and doors, and I just made this little bucket. There was a little group of guys in Orange. Murph, you probably remember this, but the Shifters were there, and they had a little house over there in Orange, and they were building these little stripped down buckets basically, and I just emulated that.
So for a while, Brian, I lived next door to Anthony Castaneda and his wife Blue.
Oh yeah.
And the Shifters were my neighbors for a little while in Orange.
Yeah, man. So you were seeing what I was seeing, or you were seeing more than I was even getting to see. I would just kind of get a little glimpse into their world at the little events and the blessing of the cars and all that stuff, So, yeah. but it just kept going from there, and I'm not stopping anytime soon. I've got this whole new interest in Bonneville, and to build a salt flats land speed car, and that's kind of I think the next. If I'm foreshadowing the next 5 years, that's my mindset is Bonneville.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I had a chance just when we were talking for a second before the thing and looked at some of the stuff in your shop, and it looks like you still do have a pretty good mixture. Looks like you guys are doing a lot of different builds.
Yeah, it's always kind of been that way for us. We don't really specialize in one specific style of car. We're doing currently right now we have everything from a 34 Ford 3-window all the way up to what's the latest, a 70 Mustang Mach 1, right? So it is a big genre. We even have a 1931 Helms Bakery truck that we're building.
Cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is super cool, yeah. But quite a mixture, and we just try to give them, the little spin-off that I like and feel is the right direction for. But I think if I was building repetition cars, 32 Fords all day, I'd get pretty bored,
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, and I don't know, Murph, if you're aware of this. I didn't realize until it was after the fact. You kind of lucked out. This never happens. You had the cover of Rod's issue 113 you built. Who did that belong to?
Philip
Jack
Meyer.
and Jessica.
Oh, Jay Smith.
Yes. Yeah, his Model A. And then you also built the cover car for CKD 113, that 58 Impala. That never happens where we have a builder back to back like that. And these are two completely different cars. And I was looking at it, I was like, oh shit. We gotta talk to this guy.
That very possibly could be an accomplishment that nobody's had before.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody's had that, and we didn't even realize it was happening. We were just like, oh, this car is sick. We gotta get this. Oh, this is cover for sure. And then it just happened to happen 2 in a row, and I was like, wow, we gotta talk to this dude.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's incredible. Thank you guys so much. It's everything, we built that Impala and painted it and everything right. We finished it right in the beginning of 2020, and then the world kind of went quiet for a while.
Yeah.
And so Mitzi shot that car, and then I didn't hear anything from her, and I didn't even ask, I just thought, and it was 6 months or something. I don't even know if it was that long, but some time went by, and then we got word about the Model A Coupe on Old School Rods, and the fact that we got that cover, and then bam, right there, the next day, you guys send me the information about Car Culture Deluxe, and I'm like, oh my gosh, man! I still was kind of comprehending. You guys picked the car for Old School Rods, and then you chose that one too. So
please tell me that you went to the newsstand and you saw both of your issues side by side. Please. I went to the newsstand and bought every single one of them, as you have to do. Of course, obviously.
And but the Impala. For issue 113 on Car Culture Deluxe wasn't there. And so I didn't see him twice. Or I didn't see him at the same time at the newsstand. But.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a crazy world, magazine land.
Yeah.
But there's a crossover for some reason how all these issues go. And there is a brief little window where they're both on the stand at the same time.
It is small.
It's a small window, but that would be amazing. I'm going to ask I got the little note thing there, but I'm going to ask some car question or some magazine questions when we come back. But Brian, how many guys do you have in your shop right now?
So we're down a few guys. I had one retire, but currently there is 4 of us that are working in the shop, and I have one employee in the office that manages the office. Her name is Katie.
So you still get a fair amount of time on the shop floor?
Yeah, so that's, it's kind of, I've heard it said before, but that's really where I want to be,
right.
I don't necessarily want to be in the office all day, but it's just kind of what has to happen, So it's a balance. It's a lot of different hats. It's running around. It's, there's, as or
sure.
even more so from your shop and your crew, and then the magazines and stuff. You just sometimes feel like you're spinning, but the freedom and the kind of the ability to express yourself comes when you're working on all this stuff. And so a lot of times I work late, and as much as I love the guys that work here at the shop with me and my office staff and my customers, still some of the greatest times are when it's quiet and I can just focus on a task that I'm building, or, nights or weekends and stuff like that,
Yeah, I call that Saturday.
Yeah.
Success is a fickle friend.
So,
yeah.
It's funny, I initially set out to, and thought I wanted a shop so I could build my own stuff, and that doesn't really get to happen. And so even still 13 or 14 years later, I still have this inkling to have my own workshop,
Every person I've ever talked to, including Murpho, set out to open their own shop, to build their own shit, and nobody gets to do it. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
success is
unless it's nights or weekends, right?
I've been trying to build this little fortress in the corner. I'm thinking now it really is not working. Like,
a block wall around your bag.
Yeah. So.
And yeah.
All right. Hey, Brian, I'm getting hit up by our IT people. We got to take a quick break. But we will be back here in a few minutes, and this has been an absolute pleasure talking with him. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Season 2, Episode 1 of the Kustom Kulture Rodcast. We will be right back. Hey y'all, this is Double Deuce, the voice of Kustom Kulture Rodcast. Do your part to keep print media alive. Head on over to murphospublishing.com. You can subscribe to both magazines, Car Culture Deluxe and Old School Rods. Do your part, as everyone should. Keep print media alive. Subscribe today. Welcome back to the Kustom Kulture Rodcast, brought to you by Old School Rods and Car Culture Deluxe magazines. We have been talking to you with Brian Mackey from Mackie Hot Rods out in Huntington Beach. You still there?
Huntington Beach.
I said Huntington Beach.
Huntington Beach.
I almost sneezed and I stopped myself. Listen, you should be glad I didn't sneeze in the microphone.
I just want you to know I think you're doing great.
Huntington Beach.
California.
Sorry about that, Brian. I was about to sneeze into the microphone, so I cut that out. That's when you go.
No, it's all good. I'm here.
I stifled it.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
So we were talking at the break about Bonneville, which is always, look forward to, big event to go to. And how many times you been out there, bro?
So we've gone. I've been 6 or 7 years in a row.
Yeah.
As a spectator, and but we've always either taken a hot rod or something that we've built out to Bonneville, and that's kind of, there's a little like car show in town.
Yeah.
At the Nugget, and so it's just something that we've always done. And this year we built a 29 5-window coupe in like 60 days. It was kind of a mock-up car, and we threw it together and built it, and we drove it, 1,700 miles round trip.
Sweet.
Nice.
So it was a lot of fun, So Bonneville for me has always been kind of this, the drive and the journey has always been fun, because you're going through Vegas and you're going up through the middle of Nevada, through the desert, and I decided this was the last year that we're going to build one of these cars for the car show, and we're going to actually knuckle down and get to work on a race car.
Are you going to race it?
Yeah. That's the goal and the dream right now is to get in that prestigious Red Hat 200-mile-an-hour club and see what we can do.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
You know?
Tear it up.
Yeah.
Do they do the world record thing at the same time you guys are there, or is that a different time?
They do that a couple weeks later, and I think
Okay.
they're getting ready to do that now. The world speed, what
Right,
they call it,
right.
World of Wheels. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's also a big. I think that's a big motorcycle gathering too. So a lot of guys out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the world's fastest Indian.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the movie that kind of got me, to look twice at Bonneville because it seemed so out of reach before.
Right.
But nowadays, now that I've been there 6 or 7 times in a row, I realize that it's really kind of one of the last events that kind of a garage builder can build a car, pass tech, and race it to pretty much an endless number. If someone has the ability, they can run out there at 300 mile an hour. It's an incredible place. So that's our goal, is to at least set a record over 200. And the 200 mile an hour guys, they get these red hats. So you see, there's a good amount of them out there. They got their red hats on and they're cruising around. And then you see a guy with a blue hat, and you look, and he's got a 300 mile an hour, and he's in the 300 mile an hour club. And there's a couple blue hats, maybe 2 or 3, and then there's 1 or 2 guys with a black hat, and that's the 400 mile an hour club. It's just incredible. Guys like Danny Thompson, it's pretty wild. So
those guys are sitting on rockets, though, right? I mean, how do you go?
Well, I mean, Danny Thompson runs the world's fastest piston-driven car. The rocket cars are hitting over 400. I mean, they're doing 5, and I think they're even faster than 5. I don't really follow the rocket stuff, but
I can't fathom that. You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah.
And these eyelashes,
It's incredible.
no. Be gone.
Well,
Eyelashes.
so unfortunately this year Bonneville got weather and was rained out, which is a bummer for everybody. And so everybody looks forward to
Yeah, the first
next
time
year.
it rains in 30 years, and it rains on this weekend.
Brian, so right before the break, dude, we were talking about your cover cars with us.
Yeah.
And that's like really a big deal. I was just like really thinking about this, like what that would mean to me, as a builder. If I can't have the good fortune of, I don't believe, having a car ever on one of our covers again, because now that I'm here as the publisher, that would just be wrong. So I can't try and go for what you've done. But dude, I was going to ask you, like, do you remember whenever it was the first time that you had something you built that was published in a magazine?
It was just one of the it was one of like the very small, like 2x2 photos in a magazine at where your car's at a car show.
Yeah.
And you go to the newsstand, you buy the magazine, you open it up, and oh man, there's your car right there, and that's such a great feeling too. And I know you guys cover so many shows like that where guys get an image, and that's super exciting. So that was probably the first time. But as far as like a specific magazine car published, I think we had a run back in 2010 to 2012 where we were getting published in Hot Rod, and at that time we were working with Sailor Jerry Rum, and so the car we built for them, kind of this stretched 30 Model A sedan, took the cover back in 2012, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But that wasn't, I'll tell you, like that wasn't quite the same feeling as what just happened with the cars we did on your guys' magazine. This had a lot more value to us because back then that was kind of a corporate setting. It was a big corporate company that owned Sailor Jerry and Peterson. What was Source Interlink Media is very corporate, and it was all these corporate guys. You know, we went to the headquarters, and we're like, "Whoa, man, this is guy." You know, I remember like one guy. He goes, he looks at me. He goes, "You don't know how much money I make for this company." And I'm like, "Whoa,
so you're
crazy,"
right.
you know? And I'm like, "Man, these guys are not my people," you know?
Right.
And,
you mean the production quality of this podcast isn't giving you corporate vibes?
This is way better than yeah. I mean, this is awesome.
Yeah. Beer cans.
Wait, we are
sipping on moonshine.
we are recording in the corporate office.
we are in the headquarters.
Worldwide headquarters.
Worldwide headquarters.
There's so much more character and so much more realness, you know. But hey, there's a lot of great people that work with those magazines and for corporate companies, but it just didn't feel like what this feels like with the Impala on the cover and the little Model A on the cover. So again, super grateful, man. Thank you guys.
That's so
well,
awesome.
that feels good to hear.
Yeah, it really does.
On this end as well.
That Impala is beautiful. It's one of my ultimate cars of all time. Is a '58 Impala convertible, and anytime I see it, but the color you did on that, which I know you guys call that black burgundy, dude, what a beautiful color. That thing is stunning. You know.
Thank you, man. Yeah, that
does.
was.
That's a perfect color because it looks black until the light hits it right. And then
Murph and I were arguing about it actually earlier, what color it was.
Yeah.
It's beautiful car. Y'all did a great job on that thing, man.
Brian, do you guys paint in house?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you kind of ground up, maybe other than upholstery or something?
Right. Yeah, we don't get into upholstery work, and we don't get into like actual engine machining or transmission building, but everything else we're hands on, and it's kind of how we prefer it, you know. Do
you have anybody like from your family that's working with you?
I don't. Man, speaking of that, I am of the last generation in my family, but I come from a line of designers and fabricators and mechanics, and all the way back to Indianapolis, outside of Indianapolis, and so my grandfather migrated here to Southern California in the '60s with kind of that same movement from Midwest to the West Coast. That was all happening in the '60s, and so they migrated, and but yeah, that's I'm it, man. I have a 6-year-old daughter, Margot, and she's she's a trip, man. I don't ever want to push anything on her, but she's like, I can already see the wheels turning. Like she's like fanatical about motorcycles and speed. And at 6 years old, like the more dangerous the roller coaster that she can get on, the better.
My girl.
So it's a trip. I don't know if she'll want to end up running Bonneville with me one day, or she'll want to weld and fabricate. I don't know, but that's it, man. I don't have any boys.
Yeah.
I just have my daughter, which I adore, and that's it. So.
Well,
yeah,
do you have any kids? Not your kids, but kids in the shop that are coming up.
We don't. We don't have any young guns, and I would love that. There's a guy doing a, gosh, I forget his name, but the Instagram is Los Angeles Children's Project. I think is what it's called.
Yeah, we've been wanting to have him on the podcast.
Yeah,
actually.
so. They build they build a really cool car once a year and raffle it off, usually at the Ventura Nationals. But I watch his Instagram and what they're doing, and it's so much more meaningful than a lot of the other things that I'm watching. And they got young kids in there, so if anybody's listening that's under 25 that's looking to get into this, reach out to us, because man, I would love that,
shout out to...
We might know the right girl.
Yeah, I think we know the girl.
One of our episodes, we were talking...
No, you can't. No, she's coming to Murpho's.
Murpho Watson. Which, by the way,
we're going to fight over Allison the Enforcer.
We'll do a shout out for Allison up in Willamina, Oregon, man.
She can work here at my shop in the summers, and she'll work at your shop in the winters.
There we go.
There you go.
Well,
man.
I don't know. She probably just wants to be here in the spring and the fall if we're doing that.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So that program that they have that they're doing with the Los Angeles, I forget what you call it, the children's what have you.
Yeah.
Has been going for a while. I know the dude, and I just can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he has done just an amazing job of building cars with kids and giving them an introduction to all facets of car building. And then there's a high school, Wilhelmina, in Oregon, dude, that we know the guy TJ that runs the program, the instructor. And they did some work on the Seaburst car that's now in Texas. It's got a long history, the Fairlane. And we had them on, and these kids are juiced, dude. They're like just really, really juiced.
They just chopped a 37 Zephyr coupe, right? That they're putting into a 2-door, and they're chopping it and dropping it and all this thing. And the TJ star pupil is this chick Allison, who's a high school girl, and it's her shop. You know what I mean?
That's so rad.
Thing, and it is rad, and that's what's so cool about this, man.
Yeah, we try and do our part for a couple of things in terms of the culture to be trying to keep print going. So like you and I, people like us can have the experience of exactly what we were talking about, seeing your car in print and having that experience. And then the other thing, dude, is kids, and our future with the culture and where are they going to come from and how are they going to get into it. And I always have all these things I think about, the old guys, me and Brian, who, we have all the cars and how are we going to get them to the kids? And, it's nobody's going to give their kid a 32 Roadster anytime soon. So how to get kids that are otherwise on the outside and maybe from a financial standpoint or whatever, how are they going to get into the groove? But, I'm just really hopeful somebody like you, somebody like me can bring somebody up and get them hooked on the culture, and get into cars. Because, man, dude, I don't know, you don't know, what's going to happen with anything in the future, but it would be nice for our world to continue.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. It's pretty funny. We were just talking about this today at the shop, but 80s cars are vintage now.
No, they're not.
It's so crazy. You have a 16-year-old that's I want a vintage car or a classic car, and it's an 85 Camaro. You're like, whoa, man.
Yeah, but it's plastic.
Yeah, it's plastic.
It's plastic.
Oh, plastic. Yeah, no, plastic. I know. There's interest. We see it at least here in Southern California with the younger generation, with this whole C10 movement. That's pretty hot here right now, and so a lot of C10s going to younger guys. We put out an ad this summer to hire a high school kid for a summer job, but no takers. We didn't.
Maybe you should send that our way, and we'll put it in the magazine.
Yeah.
There you go. Could do something like that. So I was just thinking about how 80s cars are suddenly classic or whatever, and it's always rough when you're getting older and having to accept these things. It was me when I was growing up in the 80s, there was new wave, right? And listen, it's now classic alternative. No, it was just like the radio.
I know.
No, it's not.
I know.
Yeah.
I refuse, but what are you going to do?
It's a trip.
See, they had Metallica on Stranger Things, and all these kids are going, "Hey, play the Stranger Things song," and it's Master of Puppets. And my kids, my two boys are, since they were little, I'm going, "Who's it on the radio?" I'm like, GNR or whoever. So they knew exactly what it was, and I love that my oldest son looked at me and goes, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to play the Stranger Things song." I went, "Don't you ever say that to me again." You know.
Yeah.
But it's good. These kids are listening to it. Bringing it back.
Yeah.
So I hope we can do the same thing with cars.
Right.
Yeah.
I think think so. Like, man, like, I think there'll always be a need for, guys doing there. I just watched like this thing up in Canada where they did these vintage drags, and it was a ton of young guys in Model A's, early 20s,
Nice.
So
That's
super,
encouraging. That's cool to hear.
Yeah, that is good to hear.
Yeah.
I've been wondering, because, we've been talking about this for a while, like, how do we keep it going? How do we keep things alive? How do we get younger people into the scene as, like, this sounds awful. Legends are like, dying off. Literally. Yeah. How do we keep it going?
Well, it's also the old guys hoarding the cars. We've said this before as well.
Right.
How do we get these guys... Yeah. You're not going to build it, give it away, give it to a young kid, let him build it.
Right, but and say if you're, an 18-year-old or whatever, purchasing a Model A, whatever your interest is like financially is different than it was when y'all were coming up, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we're trying to figure out, like, how do we make it work? But what if... So things have changed a lot, like, with the digital age, right? Like, we're going to shows that you wouldn't have gone to. You're, like, learning about builders that you wouldn't have known about without, like, social media or whatever. So, and maybe this is just me, like, self-promoting selfishly. What if the 18-year-old, we're like, what if a little bit older is the new 18-year-old? Somebody who has a little bit more money to afford how much it costs to get even a rust bucket of a classic car now. Yeah. Right? Like...
That's true. Yeah.
Do we think maybe there's another way than how it was? Like, instead of trying to keep it going exactly as it was.
The youngest kids, like, we're going to target, I don't know, like, maybe, like, 30-year-olds?
Yeah. That sounds really good to me.
Possibility.
Yeah.
You know what she's pining here for is herself, dude.
Me. Yes. I'm talking about me, Brian.
All right.
As soon as she said
you're never too young to start.
Yeah. I'm somewhat kidding, but I'm just wondering if, like, we're trying to keep things going exactly. No, I would. Yeah, somebody give me a car. Come on, obviously. But we're trying to keep it going how it was. Like, when y'all were coming up in the scene, like, what if we need to adapt a little bit for the times? Like, there's some things we never want to change, right? Like, we want the scene to survive, but what if the means to it surviving is a little bit different?
That's very true. The one thing I've noticed
is the classics.
What? No.
No, good. I
know
where you're going with it, sir. I'm just not letting you go through that door.
Come on, throw me a bone, Deuce.
So for me, Deuce, I'd say, like, classic cars are like 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
I want to argue with you about the 60s, but not 80s.
No, I don't mean it like that.
Oh.
I mean, I'm not talking about the years.
Target getting people born after 1990 to be the younger generation that are going to get into cars, and because they might have the financial ability to entry into this sickness, this disease, right?
Yeah, and there's still a window. There's still a window there where folks lived without having digital everything. So there's a little more chance that they might not be on their phone all the time and, like, interested in things in the physical world and not just in the digital world. Getting philosophical with it, y'all.
Yeah,
they don't agree.
Think, there was
I'm just gonna tell you right now, judging by their faces, no, they're out.
They're not agreeing. Did you guys? Did your parents offer when you were first? When you first got licensed, to drive, did you get an offer like, hey, if you save $500, I'll match it?
Yeah, my dad did. He goes, whatever you save, I'll match it.
Yeah.
I still have my first car. It's a 71 Olds Cutlass convertible. I bought it for $3,500 back in 1988.
Hell yeah.
No.
So I think that's important. Maybe we can't, do everything for the youngest generation that's just driving, but maybe we can, help the parents kind of realize, like, hey, you gotta, make them work for it, but match them, or tell them, like, you save $1,500, I'll match it, and we're going to get you something pre-70s or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Have y'all heard that the average driving age is going up, though?
What do you mean?
Is it?
Like,
what,
kids
30?
aren't getting their license
okay.
right when they turn 16. Like, they're waiting.
My oldest boy is almost 15, and he is chomping at the bit to get the driver's ed so he can be driving. You get a permit.
Well, I think also, oddly,
but he also sees me in cars.
There's like a lot of kids now that they don't want to drive. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they want to do much of anything.
So, yeah, right.
Yeah.
See, and that's why I'm saying just go a little older, a little bit older.
I don't understand it. I always
I don't get it. Yeah.
Kids these days.
always loved and desired to be in cars, and it's been about the drive. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah,
wholeheartedly. The smell, the exhaust, the everything, the whole damn thing, man.
The whole damn thing.
Oh,
I've got hope for Margot, though.
Yeah, it's I live what I preach when I say this. I'm always telling my guys, I'm like, if you want to bring your kid to the shop on Saturday and you guys want to tinker, do it, and that's what I do with my daughter. The shop here on a Saturday, we come and if she wants to do artwork in the office and make a mess, do it. If you want to come into the shop and help me drill some holes, let's do it. And I think that's just what it is. I was raised like that with my grandfather. I was always in his garage, and we weren't necessarily making progress on his projects, but he was just showing me the entry level fun stuff, and he kept it fun, and there was no pressure, and it was just a blast,
and taking his time to do it.
Yeah.
And truly focused on the moment, right? And that's probably a lot to do with what that has a lot to do with what I'm doing today,
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my focus with Margot, is if she has an interest tomorrow to go for a ride in a hot rod, let's do it. And if she doesn't have an interest on Tuesday, well, that's okay. What's her interest on Tuesday? It might be doing artwork in the office. Okay, cool. Let's do artwork,
I think it's so beautiful that you offer the opportunity for her to play with it, because in that sort of no pressure way of introducing it, as she gets older, she may have the confidence to be like, well, maybe I can take it more seriously because I've already gotten the playing and like messing up and that sort of stuff out of the way.
It's a growth thing.
Yeah.
And there's, like at these shows, like there's a ton of kids, and even at Bonneville, there's kids out there. And, like early teenagers and stuff, they're getting ready to race, I watched a really cool little documentary with George Poteet, who's setting major records out at Bonneville. And he gave his 32 Roadster to a father and son on loan to run at Bonneville. So this I think he was 17 or 18 years old, this kid. So the kid could get licensed to make passes at Bonneville,
Wow.
How awesome is that, man?
Yeah, so I think that's what it is. Maybe it's not like, oh man, these kids aren't doing it. Maybe it's our job,
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, unfortunately, Brian, our time is done. I'm getting the whole flashing thing that we are out of time, brother. But hey, I want one quick thing. people want to get a hold of you, they want to see where you're at or look at your gear or whatever, how can they reach you, sir?
So Instagram's probably the most recent and up to date. It's just at Mackie's Hot Rod Shop. At our facility here, we've got visiting hours from 1 to 1:30 Monday through Friday. People can come and take a little tour if they'd like. And we have a website, mackieshotrods.shop, to order any merch. And man, we always appreciate if someone wants to buy a T-shirt. It means a lot to us. So
cool, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey, brother, we really appreciate talking to you. This has been a fun show.
Yeah.
Fun show. Talking to you. I can't wait to meet you one of these days and see some of your cars. And by the way, your cars are sick. The two that I've seen.
Thank you, man.
Beautiful.
I really appreciate that. It means a lot. And thank you guys for the love of the magazine and for continuing print. And can't wait to see you guys in or at Trog.
Yeah. Are you going to Ventura?
I don't think we're going to make Ventura, man. Yeah. We love that show. We're a big supporter. I don't think we're going to make it, but
right. Okay. Well, we'll look for you in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Okay. Right on.
If anybody wants to get a hold of us, you can get us at murphospublishing.com. Both of the links to the magazines are there. You can go to subscribe. You can find our gear. Reach out to us. We welcome all of your feedback and your comments. So look us up too. And thank you, Brian, so much for your support and for doing this with us. We can't tell you how much we appreciate you, as well as our listeners. Miss Sarah, fantastic job.
Oh, thank you. I don't know why I'm so surprised every time.
Deuce.
Thank you, sir, man. We thank you, everyone, for listening and helping us keep print media alive. This is the end of Season 2, Episode of the Kustom Kulture Rodcast, brought to you by Old School Rods and Car Culture Lux magazines. We will see you soon. Good night.